Today, class, we're going to talk about verbs. If I ask you what verbs are, most of you could probably tell me something like, well, they show action. Running, jumping, playing, tasting, smelling, all of these things show action. So, yes, verbs do show action. But can anyone tell me what else they do? Did you learn something that you may not have even noticed that they show action and being? And let me show you the difference. I walked down the street. Notice walked is obviously the verb. It's actually what I am doing in this sentence. But notice this sentence. He is a student. Notice that is also the verb, but it is just showing what he is. So this would be being instead of action. Verbs also help us with time. If you've ever had a teacher tell you that you've been tense shifting, it means that you are shifting your verbs to different times. So let's look at what verbs can do for time with us. If I want to talk about right now, most of you would tell me that this is the present tense. And so if you write in the present, it is right now. Well, the problem with that is if I want to use my verb walk and I say to you, I walk. Think about it for a minute. I walk, I talk, I breathe, I sing, I drive. Am I doing any of those things right now when I say I walk, I talk, I sit, I teach, I see? Notice that these are not, and we always talk about these are a habit when we're just using the simple present. Think about it. If I want to talk about something that I am doing right now, what would I do with walk? I'm not going to say I walk. I'm going to say what? I am walking. And so this is the tense that we are going to use for right now. This class is really not a strict grammar class, so I'm not going to ever ask you, hey, what's the present tense of this verb or what's the present progressive? You'll notice if you're taking Spanish or French, you're going to have some of these same kinds of verbs, but I will expect you to use them correctly. For example, if I said yesterday, I would plug it in and say, I walked. If I have a time further in the past, and I think I have a sentence that I have uh, cop, that I can copy and paste right here. So look at this sentence. I had walked a mile before I realized that I did not have my phone with me. So when we look at all of the verbs, I see that I have walked and I have a helping verb in front of it. So I have walked. So I'm going to let me underline that for you. Before I realized, which is in the past. Notice that is in the past. And also I did not have my phone with me. So you'll notice that did have is also a verb. So notice which of these things is further in the past. Realized, did have, or had walked. So I had walked a mile before I realized that I did not have my phone with me. So notice that this is further in the past. So when we're using had, we need to be comparing it. So I want to remind you whenever you're doing your writing for your compositions, if you're going to talk about something in the past tense or any tense, you want to use the most simple tense. So if I just want to say, I walked a mile, period, I would never use had or any other helping verb with it. I'm just going to say, I walked. So this had is for that special time when you are comparing. And most of us, we do that naturally. Tomorrow, I might say, I will walk. And then I want you to notice that these are not all the tenses. I've got several of them here. I can say I walk. That's a simple present. I am walking. I walked. I was walking. I have walked. I had walked. I may walk. I will walk. I will be walking. I will have walked. I might have walked. And then I can use the to form sometimes. And I say I like to walk. I am going to walk. So there's even more of these. We can keep piling on the helping verbs and we can make more forms to talk about specific time that we need to when we are writing. Let me say it again though. Please always use the most simple tense that you can. So here we are. I want to talk about this little chart that I am making, and you're going to find this in your grammar handbook. You're going to find it in the dictionary. There are four principal parts of any verb that plug into all of these different times that you could possibly use. This first one could be to walk, or I could plug it in and say, I walk, meaning the simple habit that I have, that present. Yesterday I walked, I have or had walked, and I am walking. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that walk is a special kind of verb. It's called regular. Can you guess if they've bothered to name a verb regular? There must be another kind of verb. Can anyone guess what that is? Why, yes, there's a big list of verbs called irregular. Please notice that this little prefix on here, "ir," means not. So we have a whole list of verbs that are not regular. For example, if instead of walking, say I want to run, and I might say, I run. And then I would say, yesterday I ran. And then this one might get a little tricky. I have or had what? Is it going to be run or ran? Is it I had ran or I had run? Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you it's going to be run. I had run. When I do this in the classroom, I usually give students a card with one of these irregular verbs up, and everybody goes up to the board and we have a little fun laughing because sometimes, even though we all speak English, sometimes we can't remember exactly the right one. So I want to give you some tricks for remembering them and also for where to look them up when you don't know them. I am running. Okay, would be this one. So you can look in your little seagull handbook, and let me click to that for just a second. And you can see on page 325, there's a big list of these verbs. This is the little seagull handbook that we're using for this classroom. And you can see that run is not on this list. So I am going to go to the dictionary, to dictionary.com. It is my favorite. I'll post a link to that. It's on your syllabus as well, dictionary.com. And any verb that I put into the dictionary, I'm going to find out about that verb and how to use it. And let me show you what run does. So I can see right here, run. This would be like on my chart. Today I run. Yesterday I ran. I have run. And I am running. Okay. So let's look at another one. For example, let's look at bring. And here is bring, and let me get the advertisement off the screen there. So today I bring, notice over here we have the past, and you'll notice they only have it once, and the past is brought. And when you see that and you don't see a third one before the ing one, you'll know that you're going to say, I brought and I have brought. Some of you need to get this one on your list because make sure you are not using a slang formation. There is no such word. I don't even want to say it, but there's nothing but brought for the past. I brought it and I have brought it and I am bringing. Sometimes I know in the country in North Carolina, we say something else, but we want to make sure for our formal English that we're using the formal language here. And then if you have a regular verb, I'm going to go back to that one like walk that I had. You'll notice when you look it up in the dictionary, they're just going to tell you that it is a verb, and notice that it doesn't tell you this. When you see that, you'll know that it is regular and that you will just add ed for the past tense.